This is Ross Feingold on the Taiwan Hashtag program, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan, hosted by Storm Media. We're back to presidential politics and a topic of increasing speculation here in Taiwan as the presidential election, legislative election as well, January 11, 2020 approaches, is will the chairman of the People First Party, James Soong Chu-yu in Mandarin, will he run for president? Let's go back through the history. Who is James Soong? He has served in government for many decades, going back to the 60s and the 70s. He was most famous for his roles as an aide to former President Jiang Jingguo, as well as his role as the regulator of the media industry back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was known as the Government Information Office, and back in the era of authoritarian, totalitarian government here in Taiwan, he was responsible for actually making sure there wasn't too much media freedom. We couldn't do back then what we're doing today on the internet and saying what we want, and if we want to criticize him, we could do that now. We couldn't do it back then. He was most famous for forcing an Associated Press reporter to leave Taiwan because he felt her reporting wasn't fair to the government of Taiwan at the time when they were enforcing lots of rules against public protests and media freedom and, human rights. Anyway, in 2000, Soong Chu-yu ran for president. He left the Kuomintang, the Nationalist Party, which he had previously served for many years. In fact, he had been elected as the governor of Taiwan Province, the first and the last elected governor of Taiwan Province from 1994 to 1998. And as the 2000 presidential election approached, he thought he deserved to be the nominee of the Kuomintang. The chairman and the president at the time, Lee Deng-hui, decided he preferred his vice president, Lian Zhan, to be the Kuomintang nominee. Thus, Lian Zhan became the nominee. Soong Chu-yu said, "I'm leaving." He ran as an independent in 2000, and it split the vote, resulting in, for the first time, a non-Kuomintang president. Chen Shui-bian of the Democratic Progressive Party was elected in 2000 with 39% of the vote. Soong got 36, Lian Zhan got about 23%. So it was clear that Soong leaving the Kuomintang split that vote, and it resulted in a squeaky close victory for Chen Shui-bian. 2004, Lian Zhan and Soong Chu-yu were able to cooperate. So Soong was the running mate for Lian Zhan, but they lost again. Even closer, it was 50.1 to 49.9 under somewhat disputed circumstances due to a shooting incident of Chen Shui-bian the day before the election. Lian and Soong challenged the election result in the courts, but they didn't win. So Soong Chu-yu didn't win as a presidential candidate in 2000, didn't win as the vice presidential candidate in 2004. He didn't run in 2008, but he ran again in 2012 and 16. James Soong decided to run again in 2016. He got about 13% of the vote, combined with Eric Julie Lun of the Kuomintang's 33%. We see, about 44%. Tsai Ing-wen got 56%. Overwhelming victory for Tsai Ing-wen in the 2016 election. Why does James Soong Chu-yu keep running for president? Well, there's a significant factor here. Money. Yes, there are subsidies involved if you get a certain number of votes. And also, he is trying to help his People First Party maintain some seats in the legislative Yuan, Taiwan's parliament. If the parties get about 500,000 votes on the party list, not the constituency district election candidates, they can get some seats in the legislative Yuan because Taiwan does apportion some of the seats to votes off the party list. So there is money, there is some power involved. Yes, running for election, knowing you're going to lose, but getting about 12 or 13% of the vote, being at the top of the ticket to help your down ballot legislative Yuan parliament candidates, there's a lot of incentive to do it. Why hasn't he decided yet? It's a really good question. Why is he waiting right up until the November 22nd filing deadline? Well, that's because of all this back and forth over the last 3 to 4 months involving Guo Taiming, Terry Go, formerly of Foxconn, who sought the Kuomintang nomination, lost to Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu. Then there was Ing-wen, the mayor of Taipei City. He was speculated maybe to be cooperating with Terry Gou. Maybe they two of them were going to cooperate with James Soong and his People First Party. Turns out that Mayor Kuo decided to form his own People Party, the Taiwan People Party. James Soong's People First Party, let's not get those names confused, although they both have people in them. So Kuo is not going to run as the presidential candidate for James Soong's party. James Soong looks like he's not going to give that nomination to someone else. He might just take it for himself. It's very interesting that he's trying again. He's waiting until the last minute to do so. Is it because of the money? I think so. Is it because of the potential to help the seats in the legislative yuan? I think so. There's some speculation that because James Soong's political view or his view on the relationship between Taiwan and China is more accommodating towards China, he doesn't support the independence of Taiwan. He supports the long-term unification of Taiwan and China under some kind of framework, maybe the 1992 consensus, maybe some kind of peace agreement yet to be signed, that maybe by running he's helping China, serving China's interest. Well, do the polls really reflect that? Let's look at the polls. First of all, in a two-way election, these are the latest polls, it's still showing that President Tsai Ing-wen has a very large lead over Han Kuo-yu of the Kuomintang. This is a poll published in our store media within the past week from the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation. Very, very large lead. Some other polls have a little bit closer, some in the 12% range, whereas a few weeks ago most of them were more in the 15 to 17% range like this poll. Still a wide lead. That's the key thing. Tsai Ing-wen, you got to be happy about this. What if James Soong joins the race? What if he announces on November 22nd, yes, he's going to run for president again? Here's what the polls are showing. Tsai Ing-wen's numbers drop a bit. Han Kuo-yu, not much change. And we see that James Soong Chu-yu, he takes about the 12%. A lot of the undecided votes that were in the two-way poll, the two-way race between Tsai Ing-wen and Han Kuo-yu, well, some of those, because they don't like Tsai and because they don't like Han, maybe they'll vote for Soong. Basically, Soong is looking at the same percentage he got the last couple of times that he ran for president. So when he ran in 2016, this was about the amount he got. So he's not going to win. He knows that. Again, he's looking at the money. He's looking at helping the legislative yuan candidates from the People First Party, hoping to get past that barrier, about 500,000 or so votes, to get some at-large seats. You get 3 at-large seats, you get 3 seats in the parliament, in the legislative yuan. You can form a party caucus, so you get a seat at the table when the parties are negotiating the schedule for passing legislation. So even having 3 seats, 5 seats, it comes with an enormous amount of power, and it keeps James Soong Chu-yu relevant. Yeah, he's 77 years old, but by the standards of politicians in Taiwan, that's not actually very old. Lee Dong-hui is still active in politics, and he's in his late 90s, former President Lee, bless him. He's still going strong, talking about politics. Chen Shui-bian, he's had health problems. Former president, he was in jail, he's out on medical parole, but he's still talking about politics despite his illness. So age or illness appear to be no barrier to being involved in politics, and James Soong is reflecting on that. So if he decides to run, and it's looking increasingly like he will, given the statements from his party leadership over the past few days, and his own kind of somewhat unclear, cryptic statements, but he hasn't denied that he's running. If he could win this amount of the vote, he absolutely, Mr. Soong, go for it. You have nothing to lose. You have high name recognition. You'll get a lot of free media coverage. You don't have to buy a lot of advertising. If the candidates agree to do debates, and typically the debates here in Taiwan are not exactly American or European style debates, it's more a chance to give your view one after the other. They don't have a lot of back and forth questioning, but he'll get to participate in those as well. So Mr. Soong, yeah, go for it. There's no reason not to. Does it have anything to do with China? Not really. China, they're clearly prepared for a Tsai Ing-wen victory because it's looking increasingly like that's going to be the result. Han Kuo-yu trailing so much in the polls. You'd have to come up with some Han Kuo-yu wave like he had last year in the Kaohsiung mayor election in the final 2 months before voting. He'll have to come up with something like that in the next 2 months in order to win this election. Han, you're running out of time. So again, James Soong's got no reason not to run. He's got every incentive to run. Doesn't cost him much money. He's got the name recognition, the free advertising. Might help his party get some legislative UN seats. I would say it's got nothing to do with China. We know what his China policies are. If his party gets a few seats in the legislative UN, if he takes away a few votes from Tsai and or from Han, it's not going to change the trajectory of China-Taiwan relations at all. It's not going to cause Tsai Ing-wen to change her policies. Soong Chu-yu, you get 11, 12% of the vote, and Tsai Ing-wen wins the election with 46 or 50%. She's not going to change her China policies either. So despite some speculation, some international media reports about Soong having some desire to help China or to hurt Tsai, it's really not the reason why he's going to run for president. So we should know in a couple of weeks. I say, Soong, make up your mind, though. Don't be like Terry Go waiting until the very last minute, or Kuo-yu waiting till the last minute. You're a perennial candidate, so you might as well just say what is increasingly obvious, that you're going to run for president. We look forward to talking more about this on future episodes of Taiwan Hashtag. I'm Ross Feingold, and you've been watching Taiwan Hashtag on Storm Media.